Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the Riptide. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brewers, it's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Ciao, homebrew community.
What's up, my homie brewers?
This is TC and Big Mike over here for Brew Strong, bringing you a second show with our good friend Huggy Bear and special guest Michael Tonsmeyer of Sapwood Cellars. And we are discussing mixed fermentation. And wow, the process. If you didn't listen to the first show, go listen to the first show and come back as we continue on our journey through mixed fermentation.
Ooh, ready for this? Could it be a mixed-gasm?
Mixed-gasm? I think we have to end it too, which is mixed-gasm enough. But
we had package-gasm and package-gasm 2, return of the packages.
We did do that. That's right.
We have mixed firm-gasm.
Yeah, it's
2 shows. I mean, we're obviously doing sequels, so
it's true. And so I'm not good at the segue, evidently, so I'm going to do a bad segue. So let's talk about the CBC-gasm.
I like CBC, and I like Blickman. Tell me more.
That's far better than I was doing, Mike. Thanks. All right, so heading to CBC in Indy this month, the Greater Lafayette area brewers have something exciting for you. It's time to explore and win, a scavenger-style raffle where you'll discover amazing craft beer and have a chance to score big prizes like a $1,000 Blickman e-gift card, supplies, swag, and more. And Drew and Jennifer will tell me if breaking this up is pissing them off, but I get to that point, I just feel like I have to stop and say, wow, I got to go drink beer as a scavenger hunt. I'm so down with that.
$1,000? That's what I want.
Yes, Blickman swag, but I won't be in Indy, unfortunately, for this scavenger hunt at CBC. If you are, swing by Blickman Engineering's headquarters from April 26th to 28th, grab your swag bag, and get your first raffle ticket. Then visit participating breweries to collect more tickets and boost your chances of winning. Once you've got your tickets, drop them off at Blickman's booth number 701 at CBC, April 29th through May 1st, for a shot at the ultimate prize package. Make sure to follow Blickman Engineering on Facebook, Instagram, and X, as all the details will be dropping soon. That's right. You heard it here before. You heard it from Blickman/Anvil. We've got the info. That's why you're tuned in. Sip, explore, and win. Let's make this CBC one to remember.
Yeah, I'll be going to CBC, so I'm going to have to check out their booth and look that up. I'm excited for that.
You've got the inside track. I mean, you're first in. I mean, you should be getting all the tickets, all the extra points, all the bonus. Like, I think if I was betting on who would win, Huggy.
It's Huggy. He's got that kind of luck.
Trying.
So, Blickman Engineering, our sponsor since the show started. Such a great company, the great products they have. Giving away $1,000 of Blickman gear. I don't even know why. I mean, you need to buy their stuff. It's outstanding equipment. It's what I brew on. It's what you ferment on, I believe, Mike. You got one of their fermenters. I've worked with their fermenters. And I bring it up sometimes, Big Mike.
About the Anvil Crucible?
Yeah. But
I've actually won medals with that beer. That
there you
fermenter,
go.
Man, it's been rocks.
Yeah, Huggy's first pro job. What do we call it? We were brewing on the Blickman stuff as the pilot batches. That's how I met Huggy, 2014. Yeah,
the 1-year-old fermenters in a 50-gallon pot, I think.
They were large pots, very large pots. I mean, I couldn't climb in them. I'm fat, but one could climb in them to clean them. They were so big. Yeah, I bet that equipment is still in as good a shape as it was when you and I were using it 10, 11 years ago, as long as they haven't just played football with it. It's just solid equipment.
Yeah.
Great gear. And they're a great company. And you should support them. I do, because they deserve it.
Innovating your brew day. I think if you want to brew the best beer with the most innovative and simplistic, elegant solutions, Blickman, give them a shot. especially with some of their stuff like the Auto Sparge, Rims Rocket, Riptide Pump. I mean, these things are simple, easy to clean, easy to use, and they make better beer. I use the Auto Sparge in my mash tun and as part of my mashing process, and my brew house efficiency is almost too much. I've kind of had to, how do I turn that down?
That's what she said right there. You just gave us one.
Down boy.
Turn it down. Too much. Red Rocket.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the beer gun. It works for me. I win competitions with it. I also get bad compliments, bad remarks, but it's not because of the beer gun. But I don't think Huggy and I used a counter pressure one day in his cold box, which I guess you pros get used to, but me, homebrew, did not get used to using anything in a cold box. It's just too damn cold. And
Yeah.
I'm glad it was Huggy and I working on the counter pressure filler, because the beer gun's just a whole lot easier. It just is.
We used a Blickman beer gun to fill all our growlers. It started during COVID. It kept up.
I'm telling you, that's like the little secret craft tap rooms that I'm like, why don't you guys use one? They're so good.
We
like I can beer. This is like a homebrew can.
Yeah.
And I leave these things in my fridge for 6 months and they come out snappy like they just got canned. So
we had our mobile canning provider test our Blickman beer gun filled October Seymour can things. Just as low DO as the professional line. So that's
really,
it's a lot slower.
Oh yeah.
It's a case every 20 minutes and not a case every 20 seconds, but the quality is just as good.
That's impressive. Yeah. Good stuff. So we're here talking about mixed fermentation, and we gave quite the definition of mixed fermentation in the previous show. So if you want a good definition for mixed fermentation, again, go back to the last show, and well, there it is. And with that, let's go ahead and take our first break before we get into the beer that I'm having a hard time waiting to taste here. We're right back.
Brew right. Brew smart. Brew strong. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. And we're doing mixed fermentation with our special guest, Michael Tonsmeyer from Sapwood Cellars, who makes amazingly mixed fermented beers. And hopefully you listened to the last show, because just understanding the process, it's eye-opening. It's the complexity will blow your mind, but then understanding how he got there will say, hey, well, that's approachable. I'm not saying you're going to make a beer like he made. I'm not, okay, I know I couldn't make a beer like he made, but I could give it a shot. I could try.
You know what I liken it to is you watch Painting with Bob Ross, and like you're like, I could make that painting. He sounds like I could do that. And like, the happy little trees, and oh well, maybe this was a mistake, but we'll just turn it into a river. And it's like, I could do that, and it's there you go.
I honestly partly I think it is that when you do something, you know what you're trying to do, you know where that flavor came from. And it's easy to get overly fixated on something.
Mm-hmm.
An early saison I did had way too much dried ginger, and I really could taste how much dried ginger was in there. And I give it to people and they'd say, "It's pretty good. Is it too gingery?" Yeah, I taste ginger. It's nice though.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a problem with objectively assessing your own beers.
I've never met a brewer who was like that ever, Huggy. I've had amazing beers that Huggy's made. He's like, yeah, I was going for this. Like, well, what you got was outstanding. But yeah, and as brewers, we tend to be like that. We tend to be, I was going for this. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, what I'm trying to say is, if you go back to the first show and kind of listen to the vibe, I think what Michael does is he kind of flips the whole brewing process on its head, where so much of us as homebrewers, we are trying to design a recipe, we're trying to go for a certain flavor, and then we're trying to execute. And what kind of he's doing is he's going the other way. He's got a base beer he's trying to do, and then at the end he's almost, okay, now where do I want to go? And like, so it's like this, I get to almost the end of the road, and now I kind of make decisions and I blend. And it reminded me a lot of like the Scotch whiskey blenders in Scotland. And it's such a more artistic way of making beer that I think us homebrewers we'd have to really step out of our comfort zone. But I think it's something that I think any real true love of beer guy would want to try, to step out of that and like, hey, I'm going to make this beer. I'm going to split it off into a split batch, or maybe 2 or 3 of them. And I'm going to try different things. And then when I get to the end where I have 5 different beers in front of me, I can blend them the way I want and try to create something new. That was like the big thing in last episode. And if you haven't listened to it, go, because it's like,
choose your own adventure.
There you go.
Yeah.
You could make a choose your own fermentation book, Mike.
Choose your own. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah, how to make a recipe. Jump if you want to do juniper. Jump to page 59. Yeah. All right. So Mike, there are no edges. Tell us about this beer, please.
Honestly, this is a beer that's a little bit different than the previous one in that the goal is that it's a vin de cereal, and that is not a style that is in the BJCP or in the GABF. But essentially, it is a strong Flanders red. So you take whatever you enjoy about an Ode Brune, about a Flanders red, and you ramp that up to about 10% alcohol. And so again, I said one of my first homebrew sours was Jamil's Sour Red, Flemish Red. This is sort of an evolution of that beer. It is Munich, Vienna, Belgian Pale, a little bit of Special B, a little bit of Carabiana, and then we add candy syrup to get the alcohol and those sort of darker, fruitier cherry, raisin.
What number?
I could look back. Usually I'm a big blend. I'm a D1, D2, 50-50.
Oh, it's real light. Okay.
Yeah.
We've played around with this one a little bit. I'm really happy with this version, so we'll do this as a solo intentional brewed. So on the last episode, we were talking about like splitting off pale ales, where this is a beer that is brewed to be this. Well, we do those. We have a 10-barrel system, direct fire. A lot of our tanks are 20 barrels for the IPAs, double IPAs, pale ales, but we just tend to do single batches for the sour stuff. And so we end up out of a 10-barrel batch, 300 and some odd gallons, we end up filling usually about 4 wine barrels. So each one's about 60 gallons, a little bit of losses. The goal is that 2 of those become there are no edges, which is just plain. In this case, it was aged in Madeira barrels. We could talk about Madeira in a second. I love Madeira. And the other 2 end up being fruited in some way. The first iteration had blackberries. The more recent one had Marion berries. This batch went on to Barbara red wine grapes, and then back into oak barrels. But this one is just wood, malt, hops, yeast, mixed fermentation. And the goal is somewhere sort of triangulating probably what a historic English barley wine was, and maybe a modern Rodenbach, or probably not quite sweet or vinegary as Duchess, but that sort of like vinous, acid, rich maltiness. And yeah, so it's primary fermented with a English ale strain. Usually it's whatever we have around, whether it's a 1318 thing, whether it's a Conan thing, I will use some of the thiolized yeast in the hoppier, brighter stuff. I tend to try to avoid the Cosmic Punch or anything like that in darker, maltier stuff. And then,
We're not going to have time for me to ask you about that question, because that's really curious. I mean, that's a half-hour show, I think, understanding that. That's just, I mean, the fact that obviously you're a brewery that would have a lot of English ale yeast around, but the fact that you use a thiolized yeast in the base beer to make a sour, it becomes this very mixed fermentation. And I'm still unpacking this beer, and I would accuse you of lying to me if I didn't understand. 10% now is 4 or 5% smooth, easy. It's a very smooth beer.
I could add a little bit to that, though, is so much of the thiolizing enzymatic power of different yeasts is not only with GMO. I mean, White Labs has a really cool. It's a whisker. Was that whisker plot or whatever? Where they got the whole different gambit of all their yeasts, and they compare it to. No, it's just
the
a plot of all like the
Yeah.
WLPs and the whisker
before
bar
the
chart
tropic
kind of
blend,
thing,
yeah.
and then and literally some of the highest stylizing natural yeasts are your wine yeast, your saison yeast, a lot of Belgian yeast. Kveiks are Kveiks are pretty good at it. And then even lager, like 3470, people don't realize is actually fairly thylizing. And then like Kolsch yeast is very thylizing. And like these things, like it's not just a genetically altered thing. Like this occurs in nature, and it's very exciting.
I thought the highest one on that chart was their hef yeast. And
300 Weichstefan was the one that's off the charts.
Until they tell me differently, I believe that tropic blend they sell is one of the Belgians in a lot of that hef.
And I think it's a lot of 3470s.
Okay. Yeah, and that's a whole other. We should talk about that because I've had 3470s been used for cold IPAs, and I've been saying cold IPAs are thiolized, and like no, I just use 3470. Like I think it's a thiolizing yeast.
Yeah, and then like
colder temperatures also retain more thiols.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, the volatility of those.
Oh, I forgot you guys know about hops too over there at Sapwood.
Well, and again, that's the fun thing about splitting batches is that you can do multiple things and see how it works out. We did a heavy thiolized thing with Bissell Brothers, where we did Phantasm, Cosmic Punch, and then went on to fresh local wine grapes post barrel.
Yeah, I got to move to DC.
Have you seen with those thiolized yeast? Have you seen? I heard that those characteristics can fade with time. Have you seen that effect as well?
So the answer is that thiols are amazingly oxygen sensitive, and so I was surprised when they came through in the barrel aged beer. I was really expecting that they would oxidize just being in there, but I assume a combination of our fanatical adherence to antioxidation, and then also just having Brettanomyces, which is scavenging and working. But it certainly that is, and that was honestly Scott's initial pitch was that this might keep the beer tasting fresher because the thiols will have a protective effect. But in fact, it really had a bright passion fruit tropical thing without being. I'm a Cosmic Punch guy. I think some of the other, I forget which one's IRC7 and which one is.
Heliogazer is the one that uses the bacteria gene, and that's the 300X. Yeah,
is unique and fun, and if you're making a passion fruit beer, is a nice booster, but it's too much to me as a house yeast.
It's out of balance.
Yeah.
No, and actually. So I was going to send these. I got to send these out. I've had a crazy week, Travis, but I got my thiolized cream ale, which I made with Cosmic Punch. It's a totally cream ale base, but all I did was Cosmic Punch to try to see what happens. And you can see how it's very delicate. It's not overpowering, even on its own with no dry hop. You would think, oh, this is going to be a terrible thing, but I think the crisper version of this thiolization is very akin to like the Tropicale non-GMO, or something that you would use that makes a lot of thiols, versus like you said the Heliogazer or like Lunar Crush or some of the Berkeley stuff, where it's like it tastes like you're squeezing a passion fruit into your face.
I wish I'd had enough of the leftover Phantasm and send you some for that beer, because it sounds like that would have been a good beer to showcase it.
Oh yeah, probably, because literally all that was available probably to the yeast was the little bit of Nelson dry Whirlpool I did, and then whatever was in the malt. So, but yeah,
we digress.
We digress. Thiolizing. Oh, step back. 3SMM, like 4 MMP. I read the whole chapter and I memorized the whole thing from the new IPA.
For primary fermentation, though, for most sours, it really doesn't matter what you use. I like using something that's going to leave some residual fermentable. So English yeast is great. We use wine yeast as well. So if we don't have something that's suitable around, we'll pitch 58W3 or 71B, something that's just going to leave a bunch of sugars left over for primary fermentation.
He might be thinking what I'm thinking. I don't brew with wine yeast. I would have thought it would have dried it out, because I mean wine yeast will attack maltodextrin, I think, where will it not?
Some of them will, like 71B will, but a lot of them are pretty wimpy because wine doesn't have a lot of complex carbohydrates.
Okay. Yes.
And
mainly
the other thing I was asking though, sorry, what do you think about like the phenoloics of those wine yeasts? Because that's what I've always heard is going to be problematic, is the off flavor.
That's pretty much what Belgian yeast is too, though, and that has a lot of ill-free 4VG into ferulic acid into 4VG, but then that just goes for EP with the Brett. So I'm less concerned about that.
Okay.
And honestly, like those are a lot of the signature sort of funky flavors of Brettanomyces.
Yeah, they play.
Phenolics.
Okay.
So everybody listening, you hear all this very detailed information. I know you have questions like I do. I'm not going to send my questions in, so you send your questions in to brewstrong@thebrewingnetwork.com, and Mike and I will attack them in the mailbag in future episodes, because that was wow. That was excellent, gentlemen. That was a really techie, and we'll save you your Google, because these guys know the answers already. All right, sorry, serious. That was wow. Y'all went deep on that. I like that a lot. But,
I like it. I think this is where we really get into the nitty gritty of mixed. Yeah, and I honestly, making a beer with wine yeast would probably be, people be like, what? You know, like, and that's where, hey, if you're making a mixed firm and you want to make a base beer before you put it on something else, booyah. I wouldn't have thought of that.
And a lot of those wine strains have been designed, as you were saying, for like thiols or like other things. And so whether it's primary fermentation or again, the re-fermentation of fruit or something like that, there's a lot of great research in there from the wine industry. There's a lot of big money behind wine, and a lot of studies are sort of wine focused and not just beer focused.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can believe that. There's only a handful of very large breweries. There's a lot more substantial sized wineries out there.
Yeah. And so so vin de cereal it's literally barley wine. Vin, wine, de cereal, cereal.
That's French for barley wine, right?
Pretty much. And so this is sort of the Belgian equivalent of, and there, I know there are Belgian barley wines that are closer to Belgian quads or something like this, but the idea of this is honestly is probably closer. People call Flanders Red the Burgundy of Brussels or whatever. And that's sort of the idea of this beer, is this is something that's even closer to the balance, the strength, the intensity of a red wine. My wife crossed over 10 years together, married.
Congratulations.
Loves Madeira. Fortified wines, sherry, Madeira, port, and for me as well, that right balance of, I don't have a palate for Scotch. I don't have a palate for bourbon. They are so boozy and so intense. And I'm sure if I worked at it, I could appreciate them. But to me, it's like saying, I don't love Big Macs, so I'm gonna eat a lot of Big Macs until I can pick out the nuance and the pickles. I don't think that bourbon or it's something I should like. I drink enough alcohol with beer. I drink most cocktails like they were beer, but Madeira really reminds me of the drier ones. Really read like big Flemish reds. The sweeter ones read like classic, funky barley wines from England. Gales Prize Old Ales. They are oxidative, so they're aged warm for years. There's a great bar in DC, and it's wild that this fortified wine that's 60 years, 70 years, 80 years old is $18 an ounce.
Oh my God.
You can get something that's over 100 years old for $80. Because Madeira for a long time has not been cool. It has not been interesting. The Isle of Madeira is owned by Portugal. There are it's sort of described by different grape varieties, and each of those sort of is correlated to a sweetness. Cercial is the sort of the driest one, all the way up to Bull, and these sort of like really sweet ones that are like as sweet as a modern pastry stout, but it's all simple sugar. And so it's like drinking a boozy syrup.
Like a dessert wine.
But even more alcohol,
more
sweetness,
oh, wow.
more but with these amazing, weird, oxidative raisin, honey, fig, like, and again, with that sort of undercurrent of these oxidative things that you associate in my head with J.W. Lee's Harvest Ale, with a Rodenbach, with, and again, so like that's one of my sort of key takeaways for brewers, like, get out of the beer bubble. If you're at a place that has a thing and the thing is sherry or port or Madeira or orange wine, or, try other stuff. There are probably cool flavors and unique. Vijon, yellow wine, has a lot in common with lambic. Try these other things and you may find reference points. You may find unique flavor combinations. You may find, again, in our case, Madeira barrels, which are then going to add some of those deeper, richer, fruitier sort of things. From a commercial standpoint, I'll also say having an anchor where you can tell people, we got this cool thing. Here are the flavors from the cool thing that have been imparted to our beer. Whether that's an Eagle Rare bourbon barrel for your barrel-aged stout, whether that is a really cool vanilla bean for your vanilla bean IPA, whether that's peaches from a really exclusive orchard for your mixed firm sour peach beer, whether it's Madeira barrels, that, it says, we went out of our way, we got something unique and interesting. I can taste this interesting flavor. Hopefully you can taste that interesting flavor too, and maybe it'll inspire you to try some Madeira the next time you're out somewhere, or see something.
Inspire me to have hours.
Well, and I even see that, like, not only, you're kind of encouraging people to try whatever you made the beer with, but then also just to get people interested in what you took the time to try to do something nice for the customer. I think also speaks to people when they read the description. They're like, wow, he went and did that. 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 And there must be a lot of commitment and direction and deliberate things that were done here. I should probably think I should check that out. And actually, I was gonna, to transition away though, I want to see from TC, what are your thoughts on trying this? Because I've been seeing you sipping it, and I'm obsessed with the color. And if you could show it to the camera for all of our, wow, that is a beautiful thing.
So it's definitely in Outer Brown, Outer Brune, however, I believe it's close to the Outer Brown. It's definitely closer to that color, but not in flavor. I don't want to give too much away if we're going to step through how this was made. The beer is outstanding, of course. It's really good. And I say, of course, because I had another beer that Mike made, and it was also outstanding. So I'm just thinking for the best. And I also don't think that he would pack up 6 beautiful bottles of beer for a subscription. That wouldn't be some of the best things he could ship, because he has a lot of, dude, the packaging is outstanding. Right? I mean, I'm like the packaging has to cost as much as any one of these bottles did. I mean, someone had to package it up in that. I mean, it's whale pods, but those are not easy whale pods. It's a very complex whale pods, and all those bottles are in. So you got.
I'll say that this was sent directly to you by our assistant bar manager, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
The actual subscription thing, it goes through Tavor, and they handle it. So I can't speak to the packaging that arrives for people who are in the semi-annual, whatever it is, Sapwood, out of state shipping club. Dank whale sauce, bro.
I'm just saying that's why I'm having another kid. But
so
sorry, or not sorry.
I get a good bit amount of the beer, and it's interesting because you went from what's the series of barley wine you'd said? I know it's got Harvey and J.W. Lee's.
Yeah.
No, but the beers you'd referenced, J.W. Lee's, and you also referenced a specific Flanders.
Rodenbach. And
what's interesting is it's a cross between the two, but those are both sweet beers, and this is not a sweet beer. This is a well-finished, balanced beer, and I love that about it, because Rodenbach, again, I lick my lips at the Rodenbach, and I'm thinking it's sweet and low on my lips. I don't have this here. And J.W. Lee's, there's a whole lot of leftover sugar in anything J.W. Lee's ever makes. Those I'm not going to say they're unfinished, because they're very tasty beers. They're very well done beers, but their finish and gravity can only be beaten by Three Floyd's Dark Lord, which finishes at like 1060.
We have, and so in the opposite of the spectrum, we have Imperial Stouts that finish at 1/100.
Oh my god! No.
Yeah,
They start at 200.
Yeah, pretty much. Triple barrel. I mean, but then if you're doing triple barrel age, if you're doing real, fresh barrels over and over again, that you need it. It's wild to me that, again, 10 years ago, I'd have a beer like I measured Three Floyd's Dark Lord at 1068, and it blew my mind.
But it's not sugar, is it? It's got to be something else, right? Like you're not sugar.
It's dextrins.
Yeah, you're totally just
it's
others.
It's overnight boil. It's dextrins. It's all these things. But now when I have a double or triple barrel aged beer that finished at 1075 or 1080, it tastes dry. Those tannins, that oak, that and so much.
It's a mouthfeel thing. Yeah, it's not so much a density thing. It's a mouthfeel thing.
Yeah.
It's also the higher you start, the higher you finish, the more malt you can have, the more specialty malt, the more oomph. And that's
wow. See, these are all totally counterintuitive.
Right.
You're
blowing our viewers' minds. I can hear them popping on the air right now.
We just brewed a batch of stout that just went in the tank yesterday that had 24-hour boil and went from 13.5 barrels down to 7.5 barrels, and then got sugar on top of that. And these are expensive, annoying beers to brew.
Yeah, like I think so. 1060, that's 15 Play-Doh.
Yeah,
for you pros out there. Your beer's done at 15 Play-Doh. How about them apples?
No, we have beers that, like, I used to think starting at 1/100 was a good starting gravity for Imperial Stout, and now that's where we're finishing.
Jeez.
And it's honestly, it's even worse than that, because that's not ignoring the alcohol. The residual extract is north of there.
What did Jamil say? His hazy, he'd be talking about 2.5 Play-Doh, 1008, 1006. He was always a real low Play-Doh guy.
Yeah, for the hazes though, I think he's anywhere from 2.5 to 4 on the hazes that we're making.
Juice Will Set You Free was like 2 Play-Doh, something like that. It's like
he would
just chew.
Our hazy pale fish is at 5.5.
Yeah. So that's what. Look at him.
No, and that's so, like, the overarching part of this whole discussion of why sours maybe are not selling as well commercially. People want beer that's delicious. Everyone, like, life is tough. Everything is stressful right now. You have a beer, you're not having a beer to be talked down to. You're not having a beer that you have to, like, fight your way through after finishing $20 to finish.
Absolutely.
You want a beer that's, like, delicious. You want to go see an Avengers movie. You want to listen to a pop album. You want, at the end of the day, you want a big chocolate marshmallow hug.
We want the Offspring.
How many calories?
I'm going for this over the marshmallow hug any day.
Scott is a healthy vegan, and he'll say things like, "Do you want that Imperial Stout? Or do you want 2 Big Macs?" So our friends over at Private Press do a beer called 10,000 Steps, because that is how many steps it takes to burn off 1 bottle of beer.
Wow.
If I could say something about the way I feel about beer, I want to get the sign made. It's going to go right about here in my brewery. It's going to be about this freaking big. It's going to be the whole freaking garage. It's going to say drinkability. And I think that's the name of the game, is something that your palate wants more of.
So I'm with you on that. I am. Yeah. And that's these beers you're describing, Mike. They're like, I don't feel like there'd be any. I mean, these beers you've given me here, these are drinkable. I mean, these are crazy. You could destroy these. This 10% in front of me drinks like 4%.
And that's my personal thing. Like, so I sit down with our beers next to other people's beers. The first half of the beer is analytic. What do I think? What am I tasting? What are we doing well? What are they doing well? And the second half is, I'm watching YouTube, I'm watching football, and I try to notice which of the 2 beers I go back for another sip of, and I hold in my hand. I have another sip of, and I should try that other one.
Which one do you want another one of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I want to go get another one of. Yeah. That's my thing.
What do I want more of? And it depends on different beers. Different beers hit your palate differently. And I think that's where sours missed the mark for a while. Is that, and we saw it with our sales and our untapped ratings, as we got less sour, people stopped getting as excited about them, but they drank more of them.
So what's this finishing pH? 3.2?
It's on the back of the bottle. You could look up better than I could.
Oh yeah,
I could if I could read this.
3.5.
We are literate on Brew Strong.
3.54.
3.54. Yeah.
That's the number you're ratio in my truck.
All
right.
And so really, like,
you got a Dodge gear ratio over pH.
That's been my push, is not, and so in this case, we've been upping the hopping rate to get a beer that is just more pleasant to drink. That the acidity balances in the same way that hazy IPA, the bitter balances. There's a little bitterness. There's the right amount of bitterness, but it's not who can make the most bitter beer. This is 100 IBUs. This is 200 IBUs. This is 1,000. And I think sours are going through that for a while, where like how sour is it became the selling point. Where
the warheads, we were a nuclear war.
If you want to understand why I didn't like American sours and why I thought American Wild was the worst beer category ever invented, it's because I don't like drinking acetone. I love this. This is not acetone. I love this. So, I mean, I think along with that, I mean, do you care about the enamel on your teeth? Also came with, it's not just a pH. We're also going to shiny them up with some acetone after we take it off. That low pH was also full of acetone type and the hotness to it. So when you say that, your beers don't have that. Thank you, because these are outstanding. They don't even have a hint of it. And a hint of acetone is an aspect
quality fermentation.
And so the acetone, really, acetaldehyde, all those things are oxygen based. And so being super careful about oxygen, acetic acid vinegar is created by pumping oxygen, air into alcoholic beverages to sort of force that acetic character. And so for us, it is perch in that barrel, fill it to the brim. Wine barrels tend to be pretty reliable in terms of their construction. Spirit barrels tend to be much more porous.
Yeah.
And so I really favor wine barrels when I'm aging. As a home brewer, I wouldn't worry about plastic. The actual transmission rate of oxygen through plastic is relatively low. I would worry about, say, a bucket where you might not be able to tell if that snap-on lid is exactly perfectly snapped on, because if it's just off a little bit on one corner and there's a free flow of oxygen in, CO2 out, you will have vinegar beer quickly.
Yeah, and because of all that, like you said, that secondary re-fermentation that's happening, if there's oxygen present, you could end up with a solventy, ketone beer. I think acetone is one of that piece, but like that nail polish, hot, spicy.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, oxygen management, right? It's like, take care of the things. And then I was going to say, at the homebrew level, you could do that in a keg with maybe spirals or chunks to impart that wood, but then keep the air out. There's things that we can do on our, we don't have to find a Madura barrel from Portugal.
Well, I don't know how much funk you'll get.
As awesome as that would be,
flavor you'll get from it.
You can buy a good bottle of Madeira for $20, and you can blend it into taste. I'm not a believer in like soaking the spirals in something and then second-handing that into the beer. If you want oak, add oak. If you want Madeira, add Madeira. If you want white wine, add white wine.
Fantastic.
Really,
this is good stuff.
Mike, repeat that, please, Mike. I want everyone to clearly hear what you just said, because that's great information.
From a legal standpoint, as a commercial brewer, if you want to add Madeira and you don't have Madeira barrel, you can soak some oak spirals in Madeira and then add the oak spirals and some of the Madeira if no one's watching. As a home brewer, you're better off age the beer on oak, chips, cubes, spirals, staves, honeycomb, whatever oak smells good to you, until it's oaky enough, and then just blend a taste with whatever liquor, spirit, wine, fortified wine, whether it's home brewed by your buddy from around the corner, around the globe. Add it to taste.
Gold.
Get a good scale. Figure out
gold,
Jerry. Tincture how to blend. That will really get, and you'll learn more too when you add a little bit more too much, and you'll really be able to pinpoint those flavors. And it's the kind of things we do with like new hop products at the brewery. It's really enlightening to add a little more, and then you go, oh, okay, I get it. That's too much. Yeah. Oh, and then you go back when you've got that right blend to the original. You go, wow, that really is. It brings this, it brings that. It's brighter, it's fruitier, it's more interesting. I wish I could do that stuff on the sour program more than I am legally allowed to, but and that's there are advantages and disadvantages to the commercial realm, and that's one of them.
I'm not legally allowed to do everything I want to either.
But I am. Well, honestly, I don't ever.
I'll leave it at
law when I make my home brew. I just do it and don't record it because the only limitation I'm aware of is
what don't you record? Is it? Can we not show it? Is it?
I can never make more than 200 gallons a year, something stupid like that.
I'm talking about like your videos you're making or something.
I don't make these are only video. This is the only time I'm ever on video. No other time in my life is on video except for the millions of cameras that exist out in the universe that are all looking at me.
Travis, I'm trying to be funny.
Hey, I was laughing inside.
Okay, so you're being very serious about it.
No. So a couple quick questions, and because honestly, I'll not understand this beer in the time we have allotted today. Initial notes, I smelled cocoa, but I look at your ingredients and there's no cocoa. One of the barrels or something like that, a combination of the blend or what? Or do you get cocoa?
I think it's some combination of those, but to me, that's the amazing thing about flavor and aroma is that I think that's when beer is at its best, is when you are creating these unique flavors without that actual ingredient.
Mm-hmm.
We just did Imperial Stout with chocolate and vanilla and chilies and all these things. But to me, the fun thing is when you get those emergent flavors. I would guess it's some combination of the barrel and the Special B and the syrup.
I would think the Special B and a little bit of that kind of red malt you're doing, some of that stuff.
Yeah, that
is getting you that chocolatey. But dude, you're like borderline chocolate coffee. I love that.
But also, did you use enough Special B to get this color, or did you get some color out of the Madeira barrel and so forth?
It's mostly from the malt. We have a direct fire system, and we pick up a considerable amount of color from being direct fire, which is something we then fight against on the super pale hazy IPA side of the thing. But I really like that character in the bigger, darker sours and the stouts and in the dark lagers. And that's
because you have that heat directly at the bottom of your kettle. You're getting melanoidin where most people are not going to get melanoidin.
If you're on steam or some of our one of our buddies has a system that's mineral oil that's heated and circulated around it. It's the most
nuclear reactor.
Yeah, pretty much. But for us, it's that's one of the things about whether you're a home brewer or commercial brewer is figuring out what your system does well, what you need to adjust to make other styles work.
Yeah.
And
well, do you ever manage like heat load, kind of the boil vigorosity, I guess, kind of controlling melanoidin with heat load, kind of.
There's always
I always turn it down. I'm making hazy. I want nice, low and slow.
Yeah. The trick for us is that we are boiling, and our wort is 4.5, 5 feet deep. And so to boil something 5 feet deep, you need so much more heat at the bottom than a typical homebrew setup where you might have 1 foot of wort.
Yep.
And so we turn it down till it's a gentle simmer. But so again, way off script for hazy IPAs, we acidify. lower pH reduces melanoid production, inhibits Maillard reactions. And so we are able to get a paler product by adding some acid to the kettle to get the pH down into the 4s, rather than, say, starting the boil at 5.2 and letting the pH naturally come down over the course of the boil.
That's another little nugget there about the pH.
News.
And on stouts, we do the opposite. Stouts, the pH tends to drop too low. We intentionally pull that pH up with baking soda.
Baking soda, yeah.
And that increases melanoid production. So we get more of those caramel notes, more of that sort of rich, malty, cooked flavor, and generally lower attenuation as well, because you're converting amino acids plus sugars into melanoids.
See this? Homebrewers, take notes. So you're talking about kettle full pH when you start is higher for dark beers, lower for hazies.
Not just when we start. So we just did an overnight boil for Imperial Stout. The pH.
So you're monitoring pH throughout.
The pH at the start of the boil for the stout was 5.2. The next morning it was 4.4.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so then you again, not only, so that's you're not producing nearly as much melanoidins. So that's how Belgian Kanzi syrup is made. Belgian Kanzi syrup is made by treating with base to bring the pH way up to really boost those melanoidin productions. It's not a true caramel syrup like the English caramel 1, 2, 3, 4s. But then also that is going to be sour. If you're starting a fermentation at 4.4 and then you're fermenting, you might be down at 4, and you're going to get, to me, those beers tend to taste acrid. That's like a bitter, over-roasted coffee. That's your heating up coffee in the microwave the next day.
Yeah, gross.
Versus that big, rich brownie batter, sort of sweetness, roundness, fullness, big mouthfeel. And so being more aggressive to raise the pH on those. Again, I've heard things either way on sour beers. I've had people tell me that all the Belgian Lambic breweries do nothing. They have hard water and they do nothing for pH correction, and their mashed pH is 5.9, and that's good because they don't want the enzymes to be very effective. They want to be low fermentability. They want all the proteins in there. They don't want the proteolytic enzymes working, and that's why they have more body and mouthfeel and head retention. And that's sort of the weird thing about sour beer. It's such a idiosyncratic process that it may have no resemblance to what is quote unquote good brewing practice. And sometimes I wonder if we are too aggressive at keeping oxygen out. And in some ways, I think my home brews were funkier and weirder because I was racking with a auto siphon into a bottling bucket that was unpurged. I was going through a bottling wand into an unpurged bottle that I'd soaked in my bathtub. And at the brewery, we are pushing out every molecule of oxygen. We are purging every bottle. We are, purge and fill. And I wonder,
send me these and do all your tweaks, and I'll tell you if it's getting better or worse.
But like it's more consistent. We don't get we haven't talked about
the big one.
We haven't talked about THP. THP is
total package oxygen. Or
no,
THP. No,
tetrahydropyridine.
Can we take a break, get on to the next beer, and come back to THP by any chance?
Please.
TPO. I was TPO on that one.
Please. I aim to please. That's what I do. All right, everybody. If you're not listening to this show, you need to. This is some gold. This is some interesting things that I hadn't seen anywhere.
Go, Jerry. Let's go.
Yep. So we're going to take a break.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on 2 gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
And we're back.
What's up, guys?
We're back.
And gals.
TC, Big Mike, our good friend Lucky Bear, and Mike Tonsmeyer. And if you have not been listening, you're missing things I've never heard anywhere. I mean, not even adjacent.
Dude,
you're hearing
seriously.
the opposite of lore. Mike, wow. I'm almost having a hard time enjoying the beers because the knowledge is so good. But trust me, the beers are outstanding. And I really want to explain your beers as best as possible. But the information you're giving is far better than just single beers here and there that, again, are phenomenal beers that you've put so much into. So for our segment 3 of our second show here, we are going to start talking about your beer, Electric Light. We're probably going to devolve into some of the most interesting information you've ever heard on making mixed fermentation beer ever. But we're going to at least start off trying to talk about what I expect to be yet another phenomenal beer out of Sapwood Cellars. So, Mike, I'm going to start.
I'm so jealous. I'm just freaking. I'm over here like I'm from afar. Like I want to try. And I
wasn't going to gush. I was going to do my best. Not. I mean, and I even offered not even to have the
Gosh.
beer.
I'm not worried.
I almost didn't get to taste these beers, and wow, well, I've not had a series of beers like this. So anyway, please, if you can, tell us about Electric Light.
Sure. So for a while we've been doing, we call them Marolambics. So very much cribbed off of Vinchlerzo's Sonambics, which are Russian River's spontaneous fermentations. And so for us, that means that there is sort of that classic lambic base. We've been working on a turbid mashing procedure. We were really enlightened. Our friend Jennings from Penn Druid, which is in Northern Virginia, he is a specialist. He does mixed culture is the only thing he does. He does spontaneous. He does wild culture, but it's his wild culture that's been isolated. And we went to do a brew day with him, and he brews over wood. He heats the water and the wort with a fire. And it is absolutely wild. It's magical.
Wow.
But so we'd done some turbid mashes before that, and it had never worked out perfectly. And what he said was, don't just pull out X amount of wort and then return for the turbid mash. Run the mash dry, bring it to a boil, push it back. Because then you are basically, most of the enzymes are in the wort. You then bring that to a boil, you denature all the enzymes, and then you push it back onto the mash. And that gets you about the right temperature. And that has made a huge difference in what we're doing with that program. And so this is a blend of one barrel that had that sort of Marolambic-y base with one barrel of sort of a Flemish red. So similar to the previous beer, but not quite as high alcohol. But very similar base. We use Cara Red instead of Special B.
Delicious.
It's great. The color's great.
The color. Look at that.
Well,
Travis, just show us.
It also, that one has blackberries.
Oh, wow.
So from a local orchard, Bogger's Orchard, Westminster, Maryland, they're blackberries. And the thing with using local fruit is it's cheaper. I love the big fruit puree manufacturers. They're convenient. It's available, go on the website, order however many boxes of whatever fruit you want. But it's a lot more expensive than just going to a local orchard in season and getting absolutely fantastic fresh local fruit. You're paying for that convenience with a puree manufacturer versus doing the legwork. And like the local orchard, when we want sour cherries, you show up and you say, I want 200 pounds. And they say, okay, that's going to be an hour and a half while the truck goes out and gets more cherries.
Wow.
You have a bucket? Yeah.
Pretty much. And so in this case, one of the beers had been on some Spanish cedar. I've always loved it. Again, another heartbreaker that Cigar City is it half closed down, mostly owned by Monster Energy. But they used to do highlight on Spanish cedar, the Humidor series. Beautiful beers, just absolutely fantastic, innovative. And the concept was that Spanish cedar was what was used for the wood in a humidor, traditionally for cigars. It's got this amazing, somewhere between sandalwood and white grapefruit, bright, zesty, fruity, amazing, great in an IPA. But we've also had a lot of fun with it in sour beers. We've done it with hibiscus and grapefruit in a pale sour. And then those same 3 little 8-inch spirals that have been used 4 or 5 times now are in that, and add this great woodsy, zesty kind of thing to that beer.
This is 3 and 4 time used Spanish cedar before it hit this beer.
And one barrel had, I think, 2 or 3 8 or 9-inch spirals.
Yeah,
and it just adds this great, not quite patchouli, but in that sort of like herbal, woody, but with this brightness of a grapefruit kind of thing. And then on those fresh blackberries. And so it was a real fun, unique, again, and this is one of those that, like, this wasn't officially a collab. We were working with our buddy Alex from Mieza Blendery, which is in Alexandria, Virginia, right off of DC. And he came in to blend a different beer, which we also released as part of this box from Tavor. But while we were tasting barrels and chit-chatting and talking, I don't remember if it was him or Scott, somebody came up with this idea of doing that cedar barrel with some blackberries. And so this is like, it's not officially a collab, but like that's the kind of thing that happens when you bring in super smart, super talented people with good palates and drink beer together, is that ideas percolate out of that. And again, that's, to me, something that I really treasure, and you learn, and people turn you on to suppliers, and people get excited about something. And when you have someone who's been drinking sour beer, brewing sour beer, Alex was a homebrew buddy of ours from years ago, someone who you trust, and they get excited for something, even if it doesn't work in the blend you're working on with them, then you kind of, you pull a note in the spreadsheet and you say, hey, let's make sure we do something with this barrel soon. And so again, very similar to that first episode, we were talking about how we deal with fruit, repitching wine yeast to make sure there's a healthy active fermentation. We throw it in a chest freezer for 24 hours just to make sure those cell walls of the blackberries have been broken up. And then
that is such a good point.
And then maniacal oxygen control.
I think the freezing the fresh fruit is low key something most people don't think about. You're freeze macerating the fruit.
Yeah, versus the carbonic macerating fruit. So I recommend similar for hot sauces. FYI, another thing I do is hot sauces.
You freeze
because they want to separate. A good way to help them blend anyway. But so I want to throw this out there.
I'm opening a taqueria. I have no interest in this conversation.
We could talk.
Yeah, dude, fermented hot sauce.
I give you all my tips.
I love it. I love it.
But so what I want to throw out there, I want to preface it not to this strength, but the Spanish cedar is in a similar vein to Palo Santo Marron, but nowhere near as strong. I like that Palo Santo Marron, but this beer is a balance. The redwood is a balance. The cedar in it is a balance, but it is of a similar aspect to Palo Santo Marron, which just knocks you over when you have that beer.
I was going to ask real quick, did you do the same thing we talked about in the first episode where you were blending, you were tasting, blending, tasting, blending? Is this the same process?
So there's no initial plan, particularly on this one. So
that is so cool. That is so cool.
The way our process works, so we have a club. We have about 150 people who pay in advance to get one bottle each locally. There's a separate
futures thing.
The Tavor thing is separate, but you get discounts, you get bottles. And so before each year, I kind of lay out a roadmap. I see what we have in barrels. I think about it. It gives me an excuse to spend a day or two thinking about what I'm excited about. I ping our head brewer, Ken, who loves sour beers, our bar manager, Spencer, who is he's in the DeGard Club. He's a sour beer nut. And I just say, like,
sorry to interrupt. Can you give me a little bit of a? I just really, as you were saying that, I'm thinking like, what are you like guys all in a room together, or is there like music playing?
I'm an email
how is this
guy.
going on? I'm just so curious.
So I put down my ideas. I look through the barrels, but then
it's just emails.
I send out an email to all the staff, and I say, hey, here's some of the ideas that I'm thinking about. If you have a different idea, let me know. If you think any of these ideas are great, let me know. This is like one of our assistant bar managers, Maria, said like, hey, I've been here in the tasting room. People love that raspberry lime vanilla beer we did a couple years ago. Is there anything we could do with that? And I said, hey, that's super fun. I've got a super heavy raspberry beer already on the schedule. Let's do a second use raspberry beer with a little lime zest and see where that goes. I don't know what barrels are going into that raspberry beer. I don't know what different barrels are then going on to the second use raspberries, but that at least gives us a framework to look at. Hey, I know when raspberry season is. Let's take a look at what barrels we have around June to see which barrels might work on raspberries. Yada, yada, yada.
Right. So some decisions are limited other decisions, but
you got like
it's
like a general maybe.
But then there are beers like this raspberry, the blackberry cedar thing that were not on that schedule at all. And so there's always a little bit of a fudge factor built in for, hey, this barrel tastes like X. Let's do something with that. It doesn't fit anywhere else. But in the same breath, I don't want to constrain it too much, but there also has to be some sort of structure or it's just chaos.
Yeah, you have kind of it's like I think about poetry. Like you have kind of like a haiku or what's the
limerick,
where like you have these things that it's got to fit in the general idea of what it has to really be, but inside that is your free space.
Yeah.
But then it sounds like you don't get to that drawing the lines until the end of the whole thing where you're going to blend these things together. Is that what I'm getting? Or is there's
some isn't. So like the collabs are totally open-ended, but there's also some beers that are a little bit more on rails.
Okay.
And so there's some beers where it's like, hey, we're going to put 4.5 pounds per gallon of raspberries into this beer. We have 80 oak barrels. We can find something that will work with that much raspberries. That is a raspberry star.
Right.
I'm not going to put bad beer in there, but I'm also probably not going to use that barrel that is magic.
Right.
And I view my stout program the same way. If a barrel is really special, that's a non-adjuncted, it's a single barrel, it's a real composed blend. If a stout is good but bland or
let's
so hit it with something.
You say star barrel. Is this a barrel that has proven itself to make good beer, or is this a barrel that the pedigree from which it came from?
No, it's a barrel that me tasting a sample from the barrel I like.
Okay. So you've already got these barrels are filled. You're taking thieves of and you're checking them. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Mike doesn't brew as much as he'd like to. I can tell you that. We get so excited with these shows. You bring knowledge like this to us, and I have my thing. I do a whole lot of West Coast IPAs, DIPAs, triple IPAs, and Mike does phenomenal NEPAs plus other stuff. And then we have someone like you, and you explain all you've done here, and all we can think about is, oh my God, I should be doing that 24/7. I'm not doing any of that. That's enough of that.
And again, I wish this got my focus as much as it should. The focus primarily for us is the hazies and West Coast, and that's what keeps the lights on. That's what pays the bills. This is the fun side project that takes a third of the time and makes a tenth of the money.
Yeah, well, these beers are outstanding, and I hope you're able to expand it. Sorry, Aggie.
I was going to say, when you have all those barrels and you're trying to think of some ideas for some things, how do you go through and not make a suicide? How do you restrict And do you have a rule of thumb, like only X number of ingredients or X number of barrels or something like that? Like, how do you constrain yourself so you don't, when you, I guess I'm thinking like as a home brewer, you get into it and you're like, oh man, I love honey malt. I love aromatic malt. I love biscuit malt. And see, like you make a recipe with all those and it's terrible. So how do you restrict yourself so you make something good rather than going full bore?
So in general, I don't mind going a little crazy on one or two things on a particular batch, just with the knowledge that I could blend it later. And so that's kind of the advantage of being at our scale, is that we have, whether it's the center program or the sub program, there's a lot of bases, there's a lot of barrels, and then I can kind of compose something back together that makes sense. In terms of adjuncts and like hops or anything like that, I'm a believer in like intentionality, for lack of a better phrase. We almost never do a beer, rarely with more than 2 hops, and almost never with more than 3. I'm a big believer that, like in the case of hops, like most hops have the same 20 or so key essential aromatics.
I want to talk about this.
If you blend 5 or 6 or 7 hops together, that's a great way to make a consistent year-round core. I want every batch to taste the same. But then you get people to say, oh, like all the hazy IPAs just taste the same.
Yeah.
I had a Citra Mosaic, Eldorado, Amarillo, Galaxy Nelson beer.
I just
think pretty much the same as the.
What happens when you put too many colors together?
It turns
brown.
Right. But also you can use Idaho 7, which has got a whole lot of survivables, just tastes outstanding. But
it takes over a beer too, though.
No, and one of we got enamored with, before the actual numbers on Idaho 7 came out, we were enamored by Idaho 7. And then we did a beer that was all Idaho 7 kettle and all Sabro dry hop. And was there like a beer that tastes more like a mint grasshopper or something around this?
Like you're having an insect beer.
Sabro's brute.
And Idaho 7 is too, and they do not get along.
Yeah. I'm glad I haven't mixed them yet. I'll keep that in mind.
And so really the answer is that, like, I'm just not above tasting beer from really great breweries and thinking to myself, what do I like about this? What concept, what takeaway can I get from this?
What talks to me? Yeah.
I'm not trying to make their beer, but those flavors may or may not go together. I'm a big believer in sensory. We have a gin barrel saison that we're working on for our club members. I went to the local H Mart. I don't know if you guys have H Mart, great Korean grocery store.
Oh yeah.
And I bought every single orange citrus fruit they had. Every tangerine, every mandarin, every orange, Tangelo. I zested them. I put them in blind cups, and I had our entire staff smell them. And almost unanimously, the one that won got 8 first place votes and 1 second place vote. But like, that's the kind of thing that's like that extra mile that you go to, that rather than just getting orange extract from somewhere, it was Sumo mandarins. I love Sumo mandarins. They have this amazing fresh orange flavor, bright, zesty. It's amazing. Some of the orange zested smelled like hot dogs. Some of the orange zest just smelled like sawdust. And 1 or 2 of them just had this really bright, vibrant orange thing. And like, there's no secret. There's no magic bullet to making great beer. It's gutting it out.
I think it's so much, your olfactory has to experience it, and you have to like it. And you have to really feel like this is something I want to put into a beer, right?
Gents,
you go out to the store and I go scratch the fruit and like, is this something I want? Is this? And then go, okay, this tastes like, this smells like soda. If you can't go buy and do the whole sensory panel with 20 people, it's like you got to be in there yourself. And I think from us as a Brew Strong community, we're homebrewers. Like I think those kind of little steps that you can do, like yourself. Go buy a piece of fruit. Go buy all the pieces of fruit in the store. Go to the Asian Mart. I mean, I think anywhere that has, see what I'm about to do right now is I'm doing a Japanese lager next. I'm going to a Japanese mart and I'm buying the finest jasmine rice I can find, like freshest from last year's crop. Jasmine rice. I'm going to do a cereal cook. I'm going to crush it myself. I'm going to make my own freaking, and I'm going to try to just exemplify this beer. And like, this is the things that you can do. You express
like I was
yourself.
saying earlier, even if that doesn't actually make a difference to the average person drinking it, that story, those photos,
The care,
that narrative, that care,
Yeah.
I think comes through. I was just having a fight with somebody on Reddit about like, should you really add graham crackers when you could just add graham cracker flavoring? And the answer is like, graham crackers really don't add much to a stout. But that social media photo with all the graham crackers stuffed into the thing, and that we did this extra thing rather than just a brewery that says, try our new graham cracker marshmallow stout, photo of finished beer taken by the social media department,
Right.
is different than here are the brewers crushing up Nabisco.
like they're jumping on,
Yeah.
they got a bag and they're jumping on it with their feet. Like,
Jamil has a story similar to that. We're definitely getting our closeout comments, gents. So I'm thinking, right now, while I have the picture in my mind that Mike, I'm shocked that you're fighting with people on Reddit. Truly shocked, and I love that breaks you up as much as it breaks me up. So let's take our final break. We're gonna come back with additional wrap up comments because we started to wrap up almost 2 hours ago. I think we just keep dropping bombs around here. It's great stuff. All right, back in a few.
Brew Strong.
Back to the beer guys that make other beer guys look like wine guys. Brew Strong.
And we're back.
This is freaking awesome.
It is. It's an outstanding show, and if somehow you're tuning in this late, you don't know what you missed. And if you've been following along, and hey, if you've got questions, and you should have questions, there's been a lot of discussion here, a lot of follow up. I think our next show will be a more homebrew centric discussion, trying to cover some of the topics that we didn't get to today, and explain some of the topics, and maybe go into depth and really probably bastardize everything Mike's told us today. We're not going to do that, Mike, I promise you. We're going to do our best to cover some of the essentials, I think, some of the lower tiers of what you brought all together. That'll be the next show. But so right now, we just keep gleaning amazing tips. Surprising. I mean, this has been eye-opening, because it's not like you're going out there to contradict. You're doing things that you're finding that works, and you're not starting off with prescribed notions of what must be done. You're finding out what does work. And I'll only do one closeout on the last beer before we roll into this closeout section. This one's 5.2, and I'm looking at your notes. You added alpha extract, which I'm presuming from what you said previously, bring that pH up a little bit, neutralize some of that acidity. You're pulling levers and doing things that I've not heard anyone speak about ever. And I assure you, when I did my tour of Cantillon, pat myself on the back and name dropping over here.
Humble brag.
They're using 3 old hops and better. They're not adding alpha extract towards the end to neutralize. You're really understanding what it takes to make these beers what they are.
I'd say that they figured it out. So like my goal is to not add alpha extract.
Oh,
my goal is
cool.
to add the correct amount of hops, which Cantillon probably figured out 75 years ago, which was however many pounds per barrel of these particular aged hops. Anytime you're starting up something new, you have to be a little bit more nimble. You have to, as a home brewer, you can dump beer. It doesn't really matter. Like it sucks to have spent a couple of Saturdays and that carboy. Yeah. As a commercial brewery, I have 30 employees to pay, and we have, and we will again, dump whole batches of beer that are not right. But I also have to figure out how to make as much beer as I can, as good as I can,
your reputation,
and to get it to whatever that level that I am satisfied with that beer. And that has a lot of forms. If I'm making a vanilla beer and I make real vanilla bean paste and I add to that beer, and that batch isn't quite vanilla-y enough, I will add vanilla extract to that beer. But then I will have a note. Next time, more vanilla beans. And that's sort of the trick with all this stuff. And we're talking about, adjusting pH with potassium bicarbonate or lactic acid earlier. Those I view as stopgap measures to get a beer from where it is to where it needs to be this time.
Emergency levers.
Precisely. And that's really the goal, is that quick thinking, that outside the box, whatever, gets you a B, a B plus. But to get that A, that Cantillon A plus, and that takes years, decades of
entries,
every step being right.
Yeah, you like their beer like I like their beer. I've had Swansea at Cantillon, and the fact that they sell that to you for a 12-year-old bottle is just phenomenal. Yeah, that speaks volumes for you to say that. I mean, I having your beers, which these are outstanding beers. I've said it 100 times in these two shows, and you still look to them and what they're doing, and anyone can go visit them and watch what they do. Replicating it, extremely difficult.
Good luck.
Yeah, right. Picking up exactly their microbes, extremely difficult. Well, just like you're giving us every tip and trick you have, well, within reason, I'm sure, but still, it's very kind of you to share this knowledge with us. It was very difficult to follow and come up with the exact same results, but also, you don't need to make the exact same beer. You need to have your fun, you need to do your experimentation. And I urge anyone who's listening to the show, listen a couple times, because I keep getting caught off guard by just how much excellent information you've been sharing here. And I look at as I talk too much, and I won't shut up. I look at the list of things you have for closing out here, and I want you to tell us what you want us to know, what you think we need to know in general, anything, the meaning of life. Where's the North Star at right now? I don't know.
Try making a sour beer. Split a batch, take some dregs from a sour beer you enjoy. I always say microbes with a resume. If you open a bottle of sour beer from Santa Darius, Rare Barrel, Russian River, Lost Abbey, 1,000 other fantastic breweries, and you like that character, and it's almost certainly an unpasteurized beer, swirl those dregs up, dump them into a 1-gallon carboy, a jug, could be an old apple juice container, whatever.
Flask.
Use a beer, English brown ale, a Kolsch, an American wheat, something that's not crazy hoppy, I think, is a first try. Although, again, we use some hoppier stuff, and just see where it goes. Give it a shot. These are some of the most expensive, most specialized beers. It's so much easier now to find a hazy IPA. You can go to 1,000 breweries within 5 miles of your house, I bet, and get a hazy IPA. How many of them are doing a weird beer with local fruit, with a unique oak, blended with a weird wine? That's, to me, what is fun about homebrewing, is making stuff you can't easily purchase. And that's sort of what kicked me off on this journey. I'll say that you learn things from everything. I don't think our sour program would be nearly what it is without Scott and what we've done on the hoppy side. What we've learned about controlling oxygen, what we've learned about selecting hops, what we've learned about thiolized yeast, all these things have sort of played into that. As a home brewer, don't slavishly follow what Cantillon does, because you're not in Brussels and you don't have that old equipment. Take those as sort of hallmarks and where you might be starting off. But then the real final answer should be what makes good beer in your system, to your palate, with your ingredients, with your time frame, whatever it is. And that's really what's going to make something that's fun and unique and special, that's your thing. And that's what a hobby really is. It's making something yourself.
Fresh yourself.
Can you sing it, Mike? Mike? Can you sing it?
Best, yeah. So I had a rugby coach that said that, and I played the rugby, and he would talk about going out there and expressing yourself. He was an English bloke. All right, mate, good, come in. We're going to go out there, express yourself, show you the world who you are. And and you go out there and we made it to the national title, man. I mean, that was the thing that you have to decide who you are and who you want to be and show the world. And I think beer is a great medium. And I think the paint, the canvas, the things that we've talked about the last 2 episodes are some of the most creative avenues for homebrewers and hobbyists or foodies or whoever would ever think about making beer to explore. And I think that this is one of the most, like I said, you're going from like on the spectrum of scientific to creative and like following directions to doing nothing except your own thing. We are as close as we can be to do your thing, man, and like express yourself. And I love it because rugby's that way. Like you got to go out there, you got to make decisions, you gotta make choices. And sorry, that's where I get a little bit Southern Hemisphere on me because I played the game. I watched so much from Southern, but
Rugby shirt next episode. Rugby shirt next episode, please.
Right, mate. Which one you want?
The one you want.
All right. I have a really cool Irish jersey. It's very cool. With the Mahogany beard.
Our assistant brewer Matt's a rugby coach for Gonzaga, which just won the national high school championship last year.
That's so cool.
So
Mike, you shared more with us by far than I expected. I mean, I would have been impressed what you told us just about the beers you brewed and what you did, but you said, I mean, and I see that you speak out about it all the time, and you're a giver in that respect, and the pros used to be like that. The homebrewers, I think, still are like that, and I think the pros get back to it, being with you and what Scott are about. I mean, the fact that you two lead the company and you're both so well known in what you do, and so dedicated to what you love about the beer, and still sharing information after your life depends on your information at this point in time. That's dramatic, but your business is this brewery, and you're still sharing everything. Well, I say you seem to be sharing everything you know about these beers because you're sharing some solid information. And I've got to thank you for coming on.
I would like to give a little bit of Jamilism. Back to Brew Strong old school. We love Jamil. We hope I can't wait for him to come back. He's coming back, people.
Yes.
He would say, I'll give you the exact recipe. I mean, I listened to this podcast where he gave you Evil 3 to the degree, like point of a pound. And he says, if I can make that beer, if you can make that beer better than me, I'm doing something wrong. So I love all the brewers out there who are willing to share their passion and be comfortable in their process, that, they're doing the right thing. They're making the good beer and they want to help grow the community, the hobby. And, I think so much of what happens is so many people get concerned that somebody's going to steal it. And it's like, well, they can't steal your process unless you tell them. So the recipe is one thing. And you gave a lot of process stuff too, but I would argue that you're still, you are you. Michael Tonsmeyer is one of the best funky brewers in the world. And I think that he's going to be bringing the heat, and you can try to get there and maybe you can be the next one, right? But you're going to probably stand on the shoulders of Michael and make that next step up. And then you can say, like, I learned everything I learned from him, and then I took that next step. And I think that's where brewing gets better. And I love that you were so willing to share today. And that's what I had to say about that.
My pleasure.
Awesome. And I would expect, I mean, you said it throughout the show, you're tasting beer, you're learning from the beer you're tasting. So if someone were to somehow digest these 2 shows and come up to you with this outstanding beer, you'd be, hey, what'd you do?
Yeah.
What's here? What's in this? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, they owe it to you because of the knowledge you share.
Oh yeah.
It's very, and
that's where I think all these guys that they're the next ones, right? We want to we want to build this community. We want people making beers like this. We want that next step, that we want that growth. And then I think you're always going to be doing that. So like, you're already on that you're way ahead of everybody. So
No,
I just
and,
think
and I'll say as long as you're making hazy IPAs and pastry stouts, your sour program will be a big success.
oh yeah. And then, you make a couple lagers in there.
We do.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
I'd like to try
I
your
wanna say
cold
thanks.
IPA.
Yeah, I want to say thanks, Mike, for everything. You're very inspirational. The steps and efforts you're going to make better beer, and the way you said it to tell that story. So just want to say thanks for all the info and the inspiration. I've taken a lot of notes myself and things I want to look at myself too. So thank you.
Heck yeah.
Because I want to have those results. I'm going to be looking at you, waiting for those results, man. I'm close enough to you. I can have some of that.
Hey, and you know what? A little inside baseball. I might be moving down that way soon, so I might be joining the crew down in Tejas.
It's interesting because we also have to process our water here too.
And I'm that's my job.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
brown water in, blue water out. Let's go.
that'd be killer, man.
Yeah, we got pretty hard water here.
No, I got you, man. I got all the I got all
The
the
hardness in the water he processes is entirely different than the hardness in the water you and I.
Yeah, there's a lot of things
Different.
in the water that we have to.
All right.
But,
So so in about 3 to 4 weeks, we're gonna do another one of these shows. We're gonna do another double back-to-back show on Facebook, or you'll be spread out 2 weeks and 2 weeks on the podcast and on the YouTubes. And we're going to cover some of what Mike here mentioned, and we're going to talk about some things that we didn't get to. And I thought we might not be as homebrew as we could be on this show, so we're going to bring it a little more homebrew next show. But there's some homebrew gold in this show. So again, if you didn't catch it, go back and listen.
So good.
Oh my God. We're every 2 weeks. JP's putting these out every 2 weeks. We're a bit ahead of schedule. Thankfully, on recording them. Again, this will be on Facebook for 30 days live, and after 30 days, Facebook says you can't have video anymore. So they dump it. That's Facebook thing. Yeah, I know, huh? It's a Facebook thing. So the next one will either be 2 shows back to back on homebrewing sour tips, or a homebrew and a From the Mailbag, which is our new title for all you guys who are emailing us, because we have a mandate to cover all the emails.
I have a bag full of mail and I grab it.
Yeah. We're going to work on that for next time, because it's pretty good. But I think you can be great on that one. And as always, Blickman's our number one sponsor here from day one. And they're always here. The products are great. I mean,
just innovate your brew day, guys. Come on.
Absolutely. They need to adopt that. I don't know why maybe they think they would owe JP money for using it.
I know. They think they'd be violating some kind of. I just think.
I don't think it's about the violation.
My brew day is
violated.
Yeah. Anyways.
So anyway, and all the rest of the sponsors that JP is going to insert into our breaks, our comical breaks. And if you missed our breaks, we talk about some of the best stuff ever during the breaks.
Brew Strong behind the scenes.
That's right.
BSBTS, let's go.
Only available on Facebook.
Do it.
And that's all I got. And gents, before I introduce it, we're all going to get in on the Brew Strong, right? All of us, everybody here. All right. So Brew Strong.
Brew Strong.
That's it, baby. Thank y'all.